So welcome everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. It's 11:01. I'm Joy Ritchie. I'm the Director of Sponsored Programs. I'm going to be quiet today. We're happy to work with our partners from Cayuse to provide this training for PIs and those who are involved with grant applications, proposal development at UCA. And our team isn't going to lead it. We've asked the experts from Cayuse to provide this training. So we've got Christina Visk and Maddie Gilreath, who are from Cayuse. I'm sure they'll tell you more about themselves. And I'm going to just hand it over to them and not waste any time. So it's all yours. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Joy. And my name is Maddie, and I am a former customer of Cayuse. I used Cayuse Proposals, which is formerly known as Cayuse 424 until just last month. We just went through a rebranding. I was a former user of Cayuse at University of California in San Francisco years ago for about 8 years and did over 130 grant proposal submissions over that time using the system. So I know it very well. I used to love using it as a customer, and I love showing it to our customers now. And I'm a customer success manager, so I help our existing customers throughout the year to get the most out of their products from Cayuse. My colleague Christina is a new member of our customer success team. Christina, would you like to say a brief hi?
Yep. Hey, everyone. My name is Christina Visk. I am the Customer Success Manager for University of Central Arkansas. Obviously, given Maddie's background and expertise, that's precisely why I brought him in today to teach you guys about this software, since he's been in your shoes before and will be able to really pinpoint the best ways how to use this product. As Maddie said, as your Customer Success Manager, I work with clients throughout the year to make sure that they're getting the most out of the software. But I won't take up any more of your time. I'll let Maddie get started.
Super. Thanks a lot. And so I'm just putting on screen the basics of how you get to the Cayuse site. It's uca.cayuse424.com, and that's where we are, and we're going to walk through this for the next 45 minutes and then do a little Q&A time. But we're also going to take questions in the chat, so feel free to use the chat at the bottom of your screen. And this is what we call the production site. So this is the real site. There are going to be real proposals in here. This is where you go to build a proposal that's going, to be submitted to grants.gov, to federal sponsors via grants.gov. And Joy, just a quick question for you. Folks put other proposals in here too that are not going to be technically submitted to the government, but you put kind of every proposal through here for certain reasons, right?
We do. Every proposal that has to be routed goes through Cayuse. We don't
for approval.
Yes. So basically everything that comes to our office, almost everything that comes to our office gets routed through here one way or another. Not every.
Okay.
But most
super. So thanks for that. So I'm going to base this morning's session on a typical NIH R01, because that's kind of a bread and butter for a lot of our customers, and that's what I used to do a lot of at University of California. And it's just a great kind of teaching tool type grant proposal, but you'll definitely learn the basics and more for any kind of proposal that you would put into our system for routing and approval at UCA, okay? So I'm at the landing page, and there's just a couple of things here that are very helpful. So if you're new to the campus, you've requested access from the Joy's team, and maybe you're not sure what your password is or your username. There's some basic self-help links here. So if you're not quite sure or you've forgotten your username or password, go ahead and click on one of these and help yourself. And there's information about compatible browsers. I'm in Firefox right now. I tend to use Chrome the most. And basically there's a few things that you need to just be sure of one time in the beginning before you use our product. We want to allow pop-ups where there's no pop-ups in our system that are going to be advertisements. Pop-ups are going to show up as you're building proposals so that you can select names or make other choices. So you want to allow pop-ups for this website. And there's something called JavaScript that needs to be turned on. That's generally something you don't have to worry about in Chrome. It tends to just allow it. In other browsers, you may need to make a one-time selection. And the way that you'll know that something might not be working right is if you click something on a page and you're expecting something to populate, or we're going to see some budgeting and some tools there. And if it's just kind of sitting there not doing anything, that's a JavaScript issue. There's information right here which leads to our Help Center page, and we'll touch base on that too. These are just one-time things that you need to make sure of so that it works correctly for you, okay? So I'm gonna log in as a phony PI, and let me just get that going. Hold on one sec. And so I'm gonna walk you through the various areas of Cayuse Proposals S2S. The first tab on the left is where you get any of the federal opportunities through grants.gov, and we have 100% form coverage. So basically, if any of the federal sponsors you're working with through grants.gov have an opportunity, it's something that you can put into here and start a proposal. So we've got a couple in here already, and the one I'm going to be working with is an R01. And basically, if you're out searching for opportunities and something comes your way and it's a federal grants.gov related opportunity, and you know the number, you're going to come to opportunities, see if there's already, someone that has used that opportunity at the campus before. I'm typing in just R01. You can type in lots of different things in this search bar, and it searches across all of the columns. So if you know something else about the agency, or a particular number, or something in the title, there's lots of information here. If you don't know the particular opportunity number, I'm typing in R01, and you can see that this is the parent R01, and clinical trials are not allowed in this particular type, okay? And it's PA 20-185. So that's one of the basic R01s. If you were to type something in here and you didn't see anything, it would guide you over to the download opportunities button. And if you have a specific opportunity number or a CFDA number or a package ID from the sponsor, you could look it up that way. It needs to be the exact number, and that would download the opportunity into Cayuse, so you're able to make a proposal from the package. So again, these are, if you're really going to be putting something in that's really going to the government sponsor, your Department of Energy, DOD, NIH, all the different institutes, and you can start a proposal right from here with the green plus check. So if you're basically going to start a proposal right from here, you can put a short internal name, something like your last name and when the due date is, and the sponsor, just internal name. Search for yourself from the list of PIs at UCA, and select yourself. And generally, if you're working from an opportunity, which we're playing with one right now, it would pre-fill some of this information, except it would not know how many years you're going to go for. There's up to 5 on this particular opportunity. Let's say this is a 3-year, and you'd put the due date in when this is due to the sponsor, okay? There's a validation type menu. Again, the opportunity will select the right validation so that the system knows what it's checking against. This isn't something you should have to do, but we're going to show you in a little bit after we play with this. If you're just putting in, let's say, a private grant proposal, and we're going to show you how to make one of those. And the validation type, since it's not a federal agency, you'll see that it'll probably just pick other and minimal. The system doesn't know, what you're building, and you're just building an internal record for routing and approval. And you don't have to worry about any of these kind of federal agency validations, which are checking different things. When you build a basic proposal that's not tied to a federal agency, the system's probably going to check other minimal, and it'll do some cross-checking, such as typos in certain sections where there's names or some basic math. But this is one way that you can start a proposal right from the opportunities page. And we're going to show you one that I've already started. This is like a cooking show. I've got one a little bit pre-made that we'll walk through. And again, there's lots of information here, and you can sort by any of these titles. So if you wanted to see some that are closing soon, by date, you can sort by any of these items. And once they're downloaded into the system by anyone on campus, they can be used. They're right here. These are just the starting points for a federal grant proposal. So there's no harm in putting an opportunity in here. It still needs to be built into an actual grant proposal and routed and approved. So you're going to see this continue to grow on campus. There's lots of things in here, okay? And I do want to show that in the, let me go back and find my RO1 that I'm working with. There's a little blue button, which is an eye icon for information. And if you need to go to look at the instructions from the sponsor are there's going to be a link here so you can actually review all of the instructions. And this page from Cayuse tells you at the bottom that this opportunity is fully supported by Proposals S2S by Cayuse. Shows you that there's a bunch of components and that not all of them are mandatory, but all of them are supported by our product for this particular opportunity, such as, there may be a modular budget or a subaward, but those are not mandatory. But if you had, if you were going to use a modular budget or have a subaward, that would be fully supported. Once in a while, our federal agencies have some confusing information in their instructions, and they may say that you need to submit the proposal a certain way. And we worked with them all the time. We have our product managers normally they go to Washington, D.C. a couple of times a year. All that's virtual now, but to stay up on these kind of things. And we actually work with the folks that build the instructions at the sponsors so that they're giving all of our customers the right information, because Cayuse can be used for these opportunities, okay? And I'm going to move on from the opportunities page over to our proposal list. I'm in as a PI, so I really don't see a lot. If I was a central grants office staff member, I would have access to the entire campus. As PIs, you're going to have access to proposals you've made or that someone else has been building and that you're given access to. Maybe you're a co-PI or a co-investigator. So only the proposals that you've been given access to will show up in your proposal list. And as that builds, hopefully you're pretty active in making your own proposals or being involved in other folks where they are the lead PI. You're going to see this list grow. So I just want to show a couple of features here that as you come back to Cayuse and you do more proposals, this gets to know what you want to see, and you can fine tune it. So you might say, when you come to this page, I want to see everything in the last 3 months that have been modified in the last 3 months. You can, if you want to look at something you did last year, you could expand that and say, I want to see things from last year, or I just want to see everything. And it remembers your settings. When you come back to this page, it's showing you that view that you like, and you can always switch it up. You can include submitted proposals, or maybe you only want to see things that you're working on that have not been submitted yet. It depends on your volume and how much you want to kind of focus that page. This is kind of more important for the central office because they deal with, you know, dozens and dozens, and they want to just get to the things they're working on, right? Since there's a deadline always involved. You could say, I want to see everything, and just make that the default view. There's a concept called locked proposals that, again, more for the central office, but I just want you to be aware of it. A little lock will show up right around the lower right, I believe is where it shows up. That if, let's say you go away for lunch or you leave for the end of the day and you were working on a budget page and you're working with someone from Joy's team on the same grant proposal, and then they want to go in and actually do some work as well, and they see that there's a lock. So they may try and reach out to you and say, you know, are you still working on the budget? Because I'd like to go into the other section here and upload some attachments and work on the grant proposal. That used to happen, you know, now and then when I was working at University of California. I always liked to still touch base with the person before taking over that lock, because if they were in the middle of typing, you know, something in a line, we might lose just that line of information. Generally, 4 out of 5 times, someone just forgot to turn off their computer or forgot to log out of Cayuse and didn't remember that they'd left the grant proposal open. It's okay. The other authorized member, it could be a PI or a co-PI, or again, Joy's team, can go ahead and take that lock, and it means that your view will switch to read-only, and then the other person can go ahead and continue working on whatever section they were going to work on. So that's a lock, and generally the central office tends to be the ones taking the locks from each other or from PIs to finish work in a timely manner, but you'll see a lock option. There's lots of other detail that can show up on this page. This is a proposal we're going to be playing with. I built it yesterday, and we're going to continue learning in this. Over on the left, there's icons that will show up when a proposal has been submitted. If it's past date as far as the opportunity, the system will tell you, you know, this is expired. This is not something that should be submitted now. You should go and download the latest version of that that opportunity. That tends to happen, obviously, if you've submitted something and you didn't get it on the first try. 9 months later, you want to go ahead and resubmit it. And if you're going to resubmit it, then it's going to tell you, you know, that opportunity has now expired. Please, you know, search for or download the latest opportunity, and we can work with it from there. So there's different icons that will show up on the left, and obviously there'll be a title in here. I didn't have the opportunity yet to put a title in. The PI's name. Again, you can search in here for any type. I'm going to put in the R01 again, but if there were various studies with different things such as the word caffeine or you know, COVID, anything in the title, you could search for that from the list if you're looking for something. And over to the right, we see an icon which is copy and transform. This is really powerful, and it made it so easy to do those kind of resubmissions. So let's say in that example I just mentioned, you put in a grant proposal, you get the review back, it's not going to be funded, but they encourage you to resubmit, and they give you some feedback as to what should be changed. So it would be very easy to copy that proposal that you submitted 9 months ago, and you're given the option to keep or remove all of the attachments. We would remove them because over 9 months, a lot of the attachments are going to be a little bit stale, such as your bio sketch. I'm sure that something has changed on a bio sketch or a budget justification. All of the parts that go into a big grant proposal, I would leave off those attachments because you're going to need fresher ones. But all of the other good stuff that you worked on 9 months ago, the people involved, the sites, the budget, everything can just come on over into the new version, and then you're just gonna be working on fine-tuning some stuff. So copying proposal is a really powerful feature. Transforming proposal happens when, let's say you're going for a particular opportunity like what I just showed in the opportunities tab, and then you find out from a colleague or someone else that, hey, this other opportunity is really what you want to go for this type of research. So this gives you an opportunity to transform your original grant proposal into that new opportunity. So you would download it in the opportunities tab and say, I want to go from this R01 opportunity to this R21, which looks like a much better chance for my type of research to get funding. So again, you don't have to start from scratch. You probably leave off the attachments and because you don't know what that other opportunity might be asking for. So we have, you know, a lot of our customers use Transform for different opportunities like that. Or what can happen with some of the agencies is they they were actually retiring an opportunity, and it's confusing in the instructions as to which form to use, especially with earlier this year, we had some changes in NIH forms, and just one or two, smaller opportunities, there was some confusion. And at the last minute, some of our customers found out, I'm in the wrong opportunity apparently. So our support team helped them to transform that. They saved everything, made a couple of fine-tune adjustments, and they got that out the door. So that's a really powerful feature. So I'm going to go through these last tabs really briefly, then we're going to get into the heart of things. Routing, we're going to touch base on. Routing is that approval process around campus using Cayuse. If there's something coming your way, and you can see that eventually this is going to be something that I need to work on the routing. And it's not engaged yet. We're not actively routing yet, but if it was in motion, it would tell me, when is this going to come my way? What do I need to do? I need to click on it and do my part. Something might be returned to me after it was routed, and there might be a little note saying you need to change the budgets, that we found an error. So this is one place to see a list of things that are being routed to you at some point. Your people page. And actually, there's an example of a lock. I'm in my own people page as another entity. So let me just go ahead and get out of that. Let's back out of that. And we should see that lock should disappear. So this is my phony PI. This is your people page though. In people, you'd want to come here and just double check and make sure everything looks right. Feel free to add anything that you want to add to your people page, such as your NIH Commons ID. There's NASA Inspires, there's NSF, there's different degree types. Anything that you put in here will go right onto your proposal's face page. So it's really great to get the information correct in your own people profile, so that as you do these various types of proposals, that information flows and you don't have to scramble for what your NIH, ERA Commons ID is or whatnot. There's optional pages if you do certain types of NASA grants, there's or HRSA grants, they have these other pages with more information. There is a place where you could store a biosketch. That used to be something years ago that was really shared. It is a place that you can put a biosketch, but we know those change so often. I don't think folks use that as much. Your contact information, you are a principal investigator, that's checked off. That's very important, so that you'll show up on that list of PIs. Your department and division title, your title, your performance site, these things are very important, and they'll flow correctly every time. It's one of the time-saving features of Cayuse is that it's coming from your people page, so it'll be right and it'll go right onto your grant proposal. Okay, so take a look at your people page. Institutions is not something you need to worry about. It's not something that you really can edit. The central office will be managing any institutions that UCA is working with, like with subawards, and your own institution. The reports page has some basic reports, again, that you'll be able to see proposals you've been working on, and over time you could look at your submissions. If you have different departments, if you have a dual appointment, you could run a report on different departments. If you do get awards from those proposals, and we hope you do, there's a small area in Cayuse where you can actually track some award information, and there's also information about subawards. Okay, so some basic reports. And under the more, this is an area where you could come and change your password. That's basically what I would say on this, or if your email address changed. And right now, this is also showing me that my user ID is linked to that people page we just saw. I can't see a reason why you would change it, and you'd want to work with your central office if you had any changes to make to these relationships, but changing your password is something you can definitely self-do. So now we're going to come back to this proposals tab, and we're going to show you a couple of ways that we can make proposals and then get into the actual proposal that we've been baking. Right here, that plus sign, you can create a proposal right from here. You can say that this is a grants.gov, and that would lead me back to the opportunities tab, and it would say, okay, which opportunity is it going to be? The majority of proposals on campus are going to be other proposals because they're not going to be electronically submitted. But as Joy was saying earlier, that we're going to want to route those and get those approved on campus. So most of the proposals in the system are going to be the other proposal. And we'll make one in a little bit. I just want to walk through that basic R01 first. And then if you are making a subaward package, let's say you're working with another institution that has Cayuse, and you're making a subaward package that you're going to send off to them. You're going to export it from our system. They're going to scoop it up and put it into their prime, let's say R01 or other type of grant. That's where this is where you would build your research subaward proposal with all of your information, your biosketch, your budget, and that you just send it off to them, and they would scoop it into their Cayuse world and put it together for grants.gov. That's if it was a research subaward. If it's a training type of subaward, this would be like a T32 grant, some kind of training subaward. This is a slightly different format. So those are our basic options for how to create a proposal from scratch. Again, there's that green check mark, okay? And if you were working with another outside institution that had Cayuse and they sent you their package, there's this import button where you could import that package they sent you, which has all of their information, and you could scoop it right into the system here, okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that when I cover subawards. I'm going to open up the little proposal that I'm making and walk through the basics of the package. And if you've ever worked with other systems that required you to do things in a very particular order, you don't have to do that in Cayuse. There's freedom. So you can start at the face page, which is where we are right now. And just to get our bearings, this is the face page. On the left, we have a table of contents that can be collapsed and turned into a little drop-down menu if you really want to expand your window more. But the table of contents is on the left, and there'll be at least some basic sections. Even with those internal other proposals, you're going to have these basics, okay? You know, a budget page, just a couple of basics, and you can go through them in any order and work on them in any order. You just need to complete everything that's required, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So, and just to get our bearings, basically this is the face page, and at the top left, and then it walks through the entire grant to, let's say, the budget. And for those of you who have seen a completed grants.gov opportunity, I'm going to jump over here to my icon on the upper right and just make a PDF of this. Even though we really haven't done a heck of a lot, I want to select all of the sections and generate a quick PDF just to show you what it would look like if you've ever seen a PDF of a grant proposal. And this might look more familiar too than walking around the system. So this is the grant, and it's already about 30 something pages, even though we haven't done much. Here's that face page. And if we scroll through to it, there's other sections that you're very used to seeing in a grant package. There's the performance site, and then other questions such as, are there human subjects involved? Are there animals involved? So this is what the actual package looks like. And then there's the senior key personnel section, starting with, you know, our phony PI. So it's easily turned into a PDF using that PDF feature. And you could just look at one section or all of them, but it assembles it basically in the order. And that is what we're looking at right now, okay? Any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to walk through some things in here. So again, we've got that face page pre-filled with information from University of Central Arkansas. And again, that gets things right, such as the DUNS number. That's coming directly from areas of Cayuse that Joy and the team have been working on to make sure that that's correct. And wherever you see a pencil icon, that's an autofill. Again, helps you to fill out things very quickly. And in this instance, I'm just going to put Joy real quick because I know that Joy would be, and Joy, actually feel free to jump in because as far as who would be from your office listed on the face page as the administrative official, would that be you, or is that another group of folks on your staff that you might put in that section, administrative official?
I'm the AOR. Is that what you're asking?
So the other one on the previous page that we're looking at, so that your AOR comes up later, the person to be contacted in case of any questions. Do you play both roles? Are you both of those?
I don't. I'm gonna put Suzanne Wilchin on the spot here and
Oh, okay.
hope she's awake and paying attention and see if she can answer this question, because I really don't usually do this. Isn't my
That's okay. No
role,
worries.
so
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
that's okay. Suzanne, are you there? I've allowed you to talk. It looks like you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. I'm wondering if Suzanne has had some microphone issues, so maybe.
Oh, okay. No worries.
I'm going to try
Well,
Matthew. Hang on. Well, Suzanne, I'm going to mute you again. And let me ask her opposite number, Matthew, if he can answer this. Matthew, can you, okay, here we go. Suzanne's answered in the chat. Yes, she usually adds herself in that field. So that's our grant administrators. It's usually
okay, super.
Matthew Smith or Suzanne Wilchin. Sorry to put you on the spot.
There's Suzanne. And so as Joy said, Joy is the AOR, the signing official, and there's a section for that coming up. But as far as the administrative official, the person who helped to build the proposal would be the person listed there. And thank you for that, Suzanne. So with one click from the system, she's in there and all set. You know, so that's basically a one click from the pencil autofill option, another benefit of using the Cayuse system. And as you scroll through these various areas, I'm just going to go ahead and put a title in, copy my short name there. There is a live validation window hiding in the bottom here, and I'm going to click on it, and that brings it up. And what this is one of the key features of Cayuse Proposals S2S, is that it's a validation in real time, okay? So as you're building the proposal and you're working on sections, it's telling you where there may be errors. It's going to give you some warnings about some other things, and then it might give you some informational advice, either from us or from the sponsor. And so as you scroll through this, clicking on any of the errors takes you right to that page. So I just clicked on one that talks about the authorized representative, and we just heard Joy say that Joy is the authorized representative. So if we're using that pencil icon and selecting Joy, autofills her. And if anyone was noticing, we had about 33 errors before I did that, and now that zaps a bunch and we're down to 26, and all of those things go away. So basically, when I used to build grant proposals at University of California working with PIs, I would quickly open up this window down here and really get through a lot of the basics because there's a lot of things that just basically need to go in any kind of proposal, like the kind of things we're seeing here. So once you're getting in the authorized representative and different necessary items like that, you really start to get into what are the pieces that are missing, where are the attachments that really make this a unique grant proposal. And so again, clicking on these errors takes you right to the place where you need to do something, flashes it in yellow. It couldn't be more clear. Okay, and then as soon as you actually do an upload or you fill in something, then the error is resolved, and you can just move on and your error list goes down. So let me just, an abstract. So I'm just uploading an abstract. And you can see that that error goes away immediately, and there's my abstract. And if I had some draft versions that I wanted to upload and keep handy, I could do that as well. The final column, final version, is what's going to go to the sponsor. But if you're working remotely, or especially these days where everyone's working remotely, and you wanted to put a draft up here because you're working with a colleague or you're working with staff from Joy's office, and you want to keep something handy because it's a document that tends to be changing a lot this week. Maybe you're making changes to the budget justification. You want to keep that Word document handy in case of any last minute changes. You could put that under the draft area and then upload the final version here, okay, whenever that's ready. So that is a feature there of our attachments. And you also see some interesting information here that we've added in the last year to Cayuse proposals. We see that we see a page count, we see the type of document it is, it's PDF, and we see the size of it, how much, what the size of the file is, okay? So it's very informative details. For certain types of proposals, page count is everything, okay? And sometimes you're only allowed a certain type of document or a certain size of document. So all that stuff is really important, okay? So you can tend to work through the validation window and go through sections that way and get to the sections about with questions such as human subjects, etc. And just answer those, and you can see your errors are coming down, and that's always there for you. I'm going to collapse that window and give us some more space here. I'm going to jump over to the budget, and I want to go over a couple of features here. I'm going to collapse that side window so we can see things a little bit better. And we do have some amazing new budget builder features coming in the new year. In the first half of the new year, I don't have exact timing, but I've seen mock-ups of them, and I know that's something our product management team is working on, some really cutting-edge budget building features, which are going to come across several of our Cayuse products, but it's really going to help in Cayuse proposals. We're going to get deeper into fringe benefit rates and appointment types, so there's some really neat things coming. But right now, I do have my phone API in here, and I'm going to go ahead and manage that person and look at the salary and effort. I'm going to expand that window. And since it's already in my people page, my salary and my appointment is full-time calendar 12 months. I started to do some budgeting here, and I'm saying that I'm going to be 6 calendar months on this. I could have put in 50% and tabbed out, and that would translate it into the calendar months. So you can type in percentages and just tab out, and it's doing some calculating. As long as I have my appointment, my salary, and my effort, it will do some calculating. I've got the salary calculated. Fringe benefit rate is in there from my own file of 31%, and it's calculating. If I wanted to change that, I could change it to 35% right here and just tab out, and it'll just make that change, okay? And then a really neat feature in Cayuse, I can use the steps to escalate this. Let's say I want to escalate from period 1 to period 3, and I want to escalate my salary, okay? It's going to copy that, and you can see the salary goes up by 2% each year. I'm going to go back to that for a second and actually more realistically, since we know that this, even if this proposal was accepted, it'd probably take about 9 months to get an award at least, and my salary is going to go up in that time, hopefully, God willing. You know, there's annual reviews of salary, so I'm going to pre-escalate year 1 and say that, yeah, 100,000 is my salary now, but we need to look 9-10 months into the future. What will it be on the beginning date of my award if I get it? So we're going to pre-escalate by 2% the first starting period and then do it again through the others. So it's warning me that, you know, you're about to change what reality is, your current salary, and I'm saying I'm okay with that because I know that 9 months down the road I'm anticipating a 2% raise. Why would you want to start a grant out with an award where your salary is behind the times? So that's just one little neat feature there to quickly get your salary into the budget page. Other areas on here, I've got a postdoc at 50% with salary and benefits, and there's other personnel for the project that may be included. And I'm going to go to the step feature here as well, and I'm going to escalate the other personnel by 2% as well, because I've only put that person into the first budget, and now I'm going to escalate that and copy it over and escalate it by 3%, and I'm going to do that. So now I've got 3 years of a budget. I can go ahead and look to the second year, and I can look to the third year, and you're seeing that salary is going up, and I'm finished with my whole budgeting page for personnel, and I can go back to the first year and continue on with my budget. I'm going to go to the next page of the budget, and I've put in some equipment for the first year. I've got travel costs I put in on this page. I'm going to go ahead to that stair feature. I'm going to make sure I uncheck anything I was working with before, and you can do a unselect all so you don't re-escalate something. And I'm just going to say I want to escalate that travel by 2% as well, and go ahead and escalate that. So now I've got my 3 years of travel, and each of it is escalated. You can see how it goes up. And another great feature of Cayuse is, let's say you do have that resubmission in 9 months and you need to change the dates. It's very easy to change the dates in Cayuse on the budget page. Just pick a new date, basically. And if for some reason you're not seeing the type of date options that you need to for this proposal, you can always do custom and just choose, is the first period 6 months and then you get an 18-month budget? It's whatever you need to do here. It's very flexible. You even have the option to go from a 3-year to a 4-year, or 3-year to a 2-year, and slice off that final year if you're making plans and realizing this is really not a 3-year project. There's no budget for that. It's really more of a 2-year. So you have a lot of flexibility in quickly adding and subtracting years, okay, to your proposal. I'm going to jump ahead to the third page of the budget, and material and supplies, consultant services, computing services, and again, just quickly doing that, I'm going to unselect the other things I was already playing with. I'm going to go ahead and do materials, consultant, and computer. I'm going to do the same thing, and I've quickly got my 3 years budget escalated. Oops, I did not put 2, sorry. Let's do 2. And so now we should see, as I move up through the years, that it's escalated. And it's got your indirect cost rate. There are several on file that Joy's office is maintaining. And have done things over the years where there's maybe some mixed indirect costs because of on and off campus. If there's changes in the rate over time because it's about to increase in a future year, that's another thing that, because we have that on file, that should flow nicely. Joy, one question I had, and I think we talked about this a few months ago, but I'm a little bit rusty on my memory, sorry, was that I'm seeing excluded is the indirect cost type throughout all the sections. Is that part of your agreement for total direct cost on campus? Do you know if excluded is what should be in all of these sections, or should it be the total direct cost?
I believe that our indirect cost is based only on salary. Does that answer your question? Is that probably why all those are excluded as the default?
Okay, got it. Thank you. And so that's something your staff probably checks, to make sure that the right indirect cost is there and they can make adjustments, so that's great. Thanks. And so moving along through, I want to wrap things up and save a few minutes for question and answers. it's a little hard to tell. There's some checks here that are grayed out because you can't uncheck them. You're required to have a key personnel page. You're required to have a face page. So those are required. But then the other areas, such as the budget, if you check it that you're going to have a full budget like we were just playing with, then it's required. But if you had a modular budget, let's say this was under $250,000, you would check the modular. If you check both, the system's going to tell you you can't do that. So it's another helpful reminder from the Cayuse system. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down to the lower left here. This is an internal page which has some information from throughout the grant, and if there's any other information that is required by Joy's office, this is where that might go. There is a section later on for awards if that's something that we're tracking at UCA that can be filled in, but this is all an internal summary page. And if there are internal documents such as signed forms or someone's approval, this is an area where these can go. And it's very clear that this is for internal use and will not be submitted to the sponsor, okay? So just know that those are there. If you build the grant, you're basically given all permissions to the proposal. If you want to add other people, you can. You could just choose them from a list and say what abilities you'd like them to have. Basically, the right permission is editing, so that's an important one, and this will grow as you're adding other folks to it. Joy staff can see and work on anything, but if you're working with a co-PI in another department, you might want to add them to this, and that's when they'll see it in their list. Okay, and then routing and approval. Joy and I were just talking about this before the call. Her staff helps to build this, but basically starts with the PI, and when you are ready to start the approval, you feel everything's in here that's required of you, you check this and it starts the routing chain, but it's something that'll be built with help from Joy staff. So let's just say that Suzanne, let's just, as an example, we'll just say that if Suzanne were to be the next person on the chain, and again, I'm just using it as an example, it's very easy to build in where this goes next and who approves next, and ultimately ends up with Joy, who's the signing official at the central office that will sign off on it. But you'll see a routing chain, and there's an auto-built window with comments. So if someone at sponsored programs or anyone along the chain says, you know, I see an issue with the budget in year 3, the calculation looks wrong, they can reject it. It sends it back to the previous person, to the PI, and you can make the changes, start the process again, and send it back through the routing, okay? On the electronic submissions page, we see information about the opportunity. It's a great place to double check one last time that we're talking about the correct opportunity number. There's that instructions link again. And as this is submitted, if it actually is submitted to the government, there'll be a submission history. And if for any reason it needs to be resubmitted, if there was an error, there's a history here, and you can resubmit it. But generally, we want to get to a point where we're validating it one more time, and there should be 0 errors. There may be something that is a warning, and we can read it and see what it is, but warnings will not stop a proposal from getting through to the sponsor. Errors will, and then information, we'll look at that in a second too. Proposal history is one of our most popular features with our customers. I did not use it much myself, but it's very helpful to see who's been working on what section. Wherever you see the word save, that means that someone has made a change. So if you're only seeing the word view, such as when we first opened this up, about 45 minutes ago, we opened it up, but I didn't change anything until I started to change things. And it tells me what sections I was in. And this is very helpful if you're collaborating or working closely with your central office. And at the end of the day, everything's perfect. And in the morning, you have a bunch of errors and there's something wrong with the budget. There's something different about the budget. This really helps start a discussion to say, hey, was anyone working? I can see that someone was working on the budget last night. Is there something new I need to know about? Okay. And then someone might say, oh yeah, we added someone to the lab, another research assistant. Okay. Proposal export is that situation where if you're working with a subaward and you are a subaward, you're going to work with another institution, you would export that to them so that they can use it in their package, okay? And we have about 10 minutes left. If anyone has questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm just going to spend a moment on subawards. You can create subawards several different ways. You can go ahead and just make one right here if you know who the institution is and you want to build a little package here and you have their information. Let's say they sent you a paper package with their information. That would happen sometimes. I think it probably happens a lot less these days in the more electronic age, but we would work with other institutions that would FedEx me a paper package and I would have to scan in certain things like a biosketch and enter things manually. Okay, so if I were doing it that way, I would have to have the organization in the system and I'd have to kind of build it from scratch. It's not the best way to do it, but it still may happen. Importing from another Cayuse customer is really the preferred method. And also if the other institution does not have Cayuse, we own Subaward and subawards.com. And that's a free site with a very limited version of the Cayuse proposals system that, yeah, there it is. So Subaward and subawards.com, it's just a one-time free registration and it lets them build their package and send it off to you as that, feature that lets you just scoop it up into your package. So if you're working with another smaller institution, you're doing a federal grant proposal for grants.gov, send them to Subaward or subawards.com. It's the same thing. And they can make their little package and send it to you and you can just import it into here. If someone else in the campus or yourself has been building a little subaward package, you can link it and pull it into this, overall grant proposal. And then a worksheet row would be something where you're not sure who the sub would be going to, but you're putting in some budget in, let's say, the 5th year of a 5-year proposal, and where you'd look for a clinic to do something or a site in another country to distribute something. That would be a kind of a line item saying, we're going to find an institution in the 5th year to do something, and we're going to budget some time. It's not used very much, but it is an option. Okay, so that is the subaward area. And come back to the face page and wanted to just show a few more things in the validation window. We showed what errors are. There's a missing phone number. Okay, I want to fill that in, get that into the people page. But I'm scrolling down to look at the warnings. So this is a warning saying that in most cases, a bibliography and references attachment should be included, okay? And this is an NIH warning, okay? It's not something we came up with, it's a warning saying to check the rules, okay? There may be some opportunities where it's not absolutely necessary, that's why it's a warning, not an error. And then this is another warning that the facilities and other resources attachment is usually required. Check your FOA. And this is a message from Cayuse, okay? So this is where we are putting in our own message based on our decades of experience with this and our customers' experience and our relationships with the sponsors. And right now, I don't have enough money in there. I'm not over 250K. Once I go over that, this warning will go away, which is asking me, are you doing a modular since it's really not that much money? Did you mean to choose modular? As soon as I beef up that budget, we'll see that message go away. And then informational is coming from Cayuse saying a cover letter is often recommended, and check the FOA and some guidance. And we have a link here for more information. So the validation window is really helping you through the whole process. You'll eventually get down to 0 errors, and there may be a warning or informational. okay? So in the last few minutes, again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat. And I'm just gonna walk through that other proposal type. Okay, super. Someone has to leave. Thank you, Carrie, for joining us. So I'm just gonna make a quick example of non-grants.gov proposal. And we're gonna use our same PI. Our Cayuse test PI, and the system does not know what you want to do. I've got up to 10 years. I'm going to say this is just a 2-year, and it's an internal proposal. See how that validation type is set for other, because the system doesn't really know what you're doing, but we need to route all of these things through the campus for approval. We can see some basics are plugged in there from the Cayuse system. This is definitely a UCA, and then you are the PI, and it's got your contact information, and you would work on filling out anything that's required for that. And you could jump right to the budget page from here if you wanted to, and say, okay, I'm going to put in 3 months worth of effort on this, and work on the budget from there. And basically, this area is much shorter because it's not from a sponsor. It's the very basics, and it's what you need to do to complete, your basics for whatever type of opportunity you are submitting to, another private sponsor or internal grant. And I would fill those items out and work with someone from Joy's team to get the routing set up to get that approved on campus. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful. And Joy, anything I missed or anything you want to touch base on the last few minutes?
I really don't have anything to add. This has been very helpful for me. I've learned a lot, and if I want to encourage questions here in the last few minutes, if there are any more. I have recorded this, and we will post it
Great.
on our webpage, and be able to refer people back to this. But I don't know, Maddie and Christina, we really appreciate the two of you taking the time to do this. I do know, and I want to acknowledge this, that you all don't normally do this at this point in your relationship with customers. And so we're really grateful for you all taking the time to provide this training for us.
Oh, it's been our pleasure. Let me just touch on one more thing, and then we'll let you guys go. This is a newer feature down in the lower right. This is our Cayuse Resource Center, and it's a version of our Help Center that you don't have to bounce out and log into another place. It's sitting there waiting. We do have Cayuse announcements, FYI, but there's also how-to guides right here. So there's some that we're building that are showing you how to download an opportunity. They may be videos, but the Help Center is right here. So you can search for, let's say, creating subawards is right there. You can search for things, and using this little icon here, you can pop that out right on top of your screen. Again, I didn't go anywhere. I'm still in Cayuse, but I can read about linking subawards, okay? And then I can just close that and get back to my business. So it's actually the full Help Center. It's easy to search for, and it's right here. You don't have to go anywhere, log into any other place. It's a brand new feature, okay? Hope that's helpful. So if there's nothing else, I think that we'll let you guys get back to your day, but it's been a pleasure working with you.
Hey, thank you so much, Maddie. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Maddie.
Okay, take care.
Bye, Joy.
Bye.
Bye.